This is your disclaimer. This video deals with mental health topics that might be difficult for some people. So, viewer discretion is advised. This is your warning. Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about things that I struggled with during my early school years, like middle school and stuff, as someone who is a high school freshman. This video doesn't contain all of those things, but also stuff that I wish that I would have done or that I even struggle with now. So let's just get into it. First, let's start with perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that a lot of people suffer with, whether it takes over your brain or not. Perfectionism, by definition, is the refusal to accept any standard that's short of perfection. Most people believe it to be similar to OCD, but that really isn't the case. OCD stands for obsessive-compulsive disorder. It is a mental condition that brings unwanted thoughts or obsessions would lead to frequently repeated activities. I'll get more into mental health topics later in this video. The main reason people compare OCD and perfectionism is because they are extremely similar, and from what I've seen, the most common form of OCD is exactly that, the strive to be perfect. But what makes them different? OCD is diagnosable and is recognized by the compulsivity or uncontrollableness of the condition. Perfectionism, though, is personality-based and doesn't have hardly anything compulsive about it. Now, less on the definition and more about what this section is genuinely about. Perfectionism has personally affected me a lot, especially in middle school. My 6th to 8th grade years were very eventful, to say the least, and I was really going through a lot. I will say I wasn't a total perfectionist, but it definitely affected me. I was forcing my little preteen brain to resolve everything, never once asking for help besides the measly math problem. I needed everything to be perfect. I had to be cheer captain, I had to be section leader for my band, had to make all A's, had to make an advance on my state tests. I had to be nothing less than perfect. But that's just it, isn't it? We don't have to be perfect, because cliche or not, nobody really is perfect. Not being the absolute best in something isn't the end of the world. Time still moves and life goes by. You don't make happy memories by making sure something is so meticulous that you have no time for anything else at all. Failing a test is normal. Having trouble in class, normal. Dropping an extracurricular, all of it is normal. Failing is normal. Part of me still is a little bit perfectionist. I will not say that I'm not, but I know that I'm slowly dropping the idea. A big part of getting out of that perfectionist pattern is getting the mindset. Studies show that if you can gaslight your brain into thinking you can do something, for example, your brain will be genuinely convinced that you can. If you tell people and or yourself that you're lazy and can't get anything done, then that's exactly what you'll be. You need to convince yourself that you are the best you can be, that you can't get any better, that you're already perfect. Once you genuinely believe that, you can let go of the idea. It won't be easy, though. You know how smokers, when they try to let go of their addiction, they ease onto nicotine patches and it's a really slow process? That's exactly what you have to do here. Ease into it. Tell yourself that, oh, only this one project doesn't have to be perfect, and then go into more and more things until nothing has to be perfect at all. Along with that, there's different ideas of perfect. Perfect, to some people, could be just submitting an assignment and getting a passing grade. To others, it can be finishing the assignment in one day and getting 100 on it. Nothing is perfect for every person in existence, even if it could seem that way. This video is nowhere near perfect considering I'm filming this on my old laptop that is used and type this entire script out on a Google Doc. But that's okay. So basically what I'm saying here is lower your standard of perfect and convince yourself that not everything has to be done perfectly, and you'll be able to get over that perfectionist inside of you. The next topic is studying. In my middle school years, I literally never studied ever. Sure, I would read through the material the morning of the test and hope that I passed, but that's not studying. I did get by with mostly A's and B's, thank God, but it isn't that easy in high school. Tests and assignments aren't just sunshine and rainbows. You have to put the work in. I think the main reason that I never studied is because I wasn't really sure how. I watched millions of videos that talked about the best way to study, but none of them really helped. There's no official guide to studying, even though there really should be. Studying is difficult, and finding the motivation is even harder. But there's ways that seem like enough. Motivation is a huge struggle of mine. Most of the time, I don't have enough motivation to get up and get medication when my stomach is quite literally killing me. In fact, I'm procrastinating that right now. When this happens, you have to use the 5-second rule. Contrary to what you're likely thinking, the 5-second rule is much different than the one for food on the floor. The 5-second rule is popularized by Mel Robbins, and it helps defeat procrastination. Basically, to sum it up, when you recognize that you need to do something, for example, you remember that you never took the trash out, you count down from 5 and get up and do it. Doing this doesn't let your brain think of ways to psych you out or put you off task. Like, when I think about doing something, it feels like I can't move. So if you focus on counting down and then just don't think about it and move, it can get you out of that kind of funk. Now, of course, if you're in the middle of doing something like I am now, you most definitely want to wait, but you should make a note of it. Something I usually do when I get homework is write it on my arm. You can't miss a note in black marker sitting on your body, right? So when you're getting ready for bed and you remember that you need to study for the test that's next day, count down from 5 and open that textbook. Most of the time, it's waiting for motivation that kills us. Starting an assignment and even kind of romanticizing it is what kills us. No. What? Starting an assignment and even romanticizing it sometimes is what gets us to finish it. Even if you don't finish it, progress is what matters. But what is the right way to study? Like I said, there is none. No right way to study exists. Some methods that may work for me probably won't work for you. But they might, you never know. So that's why I'll be sharing 2 of my favorite ways. Method number 1 is to put all of your notes into a Google Slide and present it to your friends. Or literally no one at all. You could literally present them to your stuffed animals. It is better to do it with friends, personally, in my opinion. Especially if they don't know the material, because they can ask questions. This tests your own knowledge, you'll know what to go over, and also helps your friends understand the material as well. But you shouldn't be just reading the slides. You should actually teach it. This makes sure that your understanding of the material This makes sure that you completely understand the material and shows you what you need to work on. Method number 2 is active recall. You've probably heard this method in literally every other study tip video in existence, but that's because it's one of the most common methods. Basically, to explain it, read the part of the text that you need to study, and then once you're done, write down everything that you remember. It doesn't have to be word for word from the media. In fact, it shouldn't be, but it could. Active recall isn't only for studying. It's also could be used for any media that you'd like to remember. Let's say you have a book that you read that was really impactful for you, and you want to remember it later in life. You can use active recall. Find your favorite chapters, find your favorite quotes, everything, and write it all down from memory and read it again if you don't remember it. It's literally so helpful for stuff that you actually want to remember, and it's helping my own memory problems, dare I say. These methods are my personal favorite and most useful to me. But sometimes any study method can be interrupted by distractions like our phones. The best way that I'm able to put my phone away and lock in on my work is putting it in a separate room. This allows complete or a lot of focus and lets me lock in. Like, all my focus is on the work. Sometimes it doesn't help and you find yourself reaching for a phone that isn't there. Switching to a different and more educational app instead of doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram can help an immense amount. One of my favorite apps to use while studying is called My Study Room. It's a timer, but it doesn't lock your screen to where you can't do literally anything else on your phone. This is for when, I'm trying to think of a thing because this isn't scripted, but it can be used for when you say you don't have a laptop and you have to type something up on a doc. This app can be used for when you have to type it on your phone or you have to look at sources that's on your phone. As long as you're not like faking studying, I'll say, it's literally so useful. Another thing that I like to do when I'm reaching for my phone and it's not there is find something to fidget with that I can focus on. Like, I have this. I may or may not have taken it from my friend. Let's just say that I didn't for the sake of this. He's getting it back. But like, and this is kind of loud, but I'll be fidgeting with this instead of like wanting my phone, or I use my lanyard for my ID. Anyways, the time where I'm most productive is when my parents don't let me on my phone. My parents enforce a rule where I'm not allowed on my phone an hour before I go to sleep. Most of the time, this rule really pisses me off and I hate it. More recently, though, I've been using that time to read, study, and watch videos on my TV or laptop that are actually educational and helpful for my current education or the subject that I want to major in the future. Another thing that's kind of on the topic of education online is getting a separate tab, like a whole email and everything for school and work. This separates your educational life from your fun, carefree internet life. It can actually help you for less distractions. Like, I usually have a Discord tab open on my laptop because my phone's been acting weird. And so having that tab constantly open and giving me notifications makes it harder for me to focus. So closing it out or getting a whole nother like desktop tab or profile on Google or Microsoft actually helps. And it can be really important to separate your education and your internet life because you can have it in different spaces and you know where to find it. Being organized is also a very important part of studying that a lot of people ignore. Next, I'm going to cover habits. I don't have a lot of information on this topic because it's very boring. Creating good habits is hands down the best thing you can do to better yourself while you're still young. In elementary school, the worst mistake that I made was deciding to stop brushing my teeth every day. I was in the 4th grade, literally worst mistake I've ever made. And I still struggle with building it back up to this day. We listen and we don't judge. But, like, I'm getting back to it and I'm not unhygienic. I brush my teeth like every day. Not too much. Making good habits for yourself is as difficult as breaking a bad habit, but that's what makes it so important. Good habits like showering often, washing your face every night, not having too much screen time, brushing your teeth twice a day, and more are so insanely important for your well-being. It's a lot easier to break good habits than it is to make them, so you have to put in the effort to keep the habits going. It's also much easier to create good habits when you're younger, from what I've seen, which is why this video sort of kind of focuses on my younger middle school years. Good habits are considered to be habits that are good for your health, well-being, and your mental state. Breaking bad habits are equally as important. Things like biting your nails, staying up late, procrastination, and more are examples of bad habits. I do all of these, every single one of them, and I probably bit my nails like 5 times in this video. These kind of habits can affect your health and your academics. For example, biting your nails, especially when you work outside, can give you infection in your nails and just in your body in general. Staying up late, ruining your sleep schedule, can affect how you perform. And then procrastination, for example. I love that phrase, for example. Procrastination can affect your academics with not turning things in on time, not being able to finish them. So, I don't really have much else to say about these topics besides how hard these two can be. So, let's move on. The last topic that I'm going to be covering is mental health. Mental health is such a hard topic for so many people and is constantly and consistently overlooked by many. Middle and high school is such a huge change for teens in terms of personality, looks, etc. Things like this can be caused by pressure by parents, classmates, or friends, social media, and even teens' own thoughts. Plenty of teens struggle with depression, eating disorders, suicidal thoughts, PTSD, childhood trauma, and etc. Changes like this, some of these changes, and perhaps like seasonal depression kind of thing, are or could be typical for people of this age, yes. But that does not mean that they should be ignored. Sometimes adults mistake genuine mental illness for hormones and puberty when that is not the case. This is such a huge problem in adults that I've seen lately because, sorry about that. Where was I? Anyways, this is such a huge problem in adults lately from what I've seen because mental illness is excused or ignored because, oh, nobody had that when I was little. Yes, they did. They just didn't know it yet because that type of diagnosis and technology didn't exist yet. Anyways, parents excusing mental health causes gaps and tears in the parent-child relationships. This can cause problems later in life for both the parent and the child, and can even cause no contact when the child reaches adulthood. Mental health can worsen because of broken relationships with parents or loved ones, especially if a child has a reason to think that their family will not accept them for who they are. The amount of trans people that I've seen in my nearly 2 years on the internet outside of YouTube that have been so scared to come out because of where they were raised and who they live with is insane. No child anywhere should fear their family hating them for who they are. And I will only say this once, but do not have children if you are not ready to support them through who they are and what they go through. Mental health is so important for the life of people, especially the ones that are suffering. Suicide rates have increased nearly 62% since 2007. Suicide is never the answer and is in fact the worst option. It is a permanent solution to a likely temporary problem. Not saying that all your problems will be temporary. Some problems are permanent and you just have to learn how to live with them. Suicide is never the answer. I myself have considered it many times, but of course, I'm still here today. I'm bad. And mental health isn't just suicide. Say it with me now. It isn't just suicide. There are other mental disorders in existence, even ones that aren't negative, like autism and ADHD, that can even be empowering for some people. But there are negative ones, like eating disorders and PTSD that causes constant anxiety attacks, or disorders that worsen your mental image, etc. On the topic of things like eating disorders, if you have an inch, an ounce, a centimeter of body problems, do not step foot on Twitter. I'm sorry. ED Twitter is the worst thing to happen to me. I went from thinking I was too skinny, because I'm a little bit underweight, in fact. I went from thinking I was too skinny to wanting to lose 20 pounds. And I still struggle with that. That being said, I won't say that I have or have had an ED because I haven't been diagnosed with one. And do not even get me started on self-diagnosing, because as someone who has done it before, when I was in my more younger, like 6th grade, never do it. It's bad representation for the people who genuinely have it. It over-popularizes it for some reason, especially in 2020. Like after COVID, everyone was saying that people were faking tics. People were faking ADHD. I thought I had autism and ADHD. Like, I'm not even kidding. I thought that I did. And I'm not saying that I still don't do this, because when I see something that's like, oh, this has been rumored, like, for example, say that I see someone online that's like, oh, I have this mental disorder, like, I'm trying to think of an example, like, a lot of times recently I've been seeing people with DID come up on my For You page, and they're talking about how, like, their experiences, and I automatically apply the things that have happened to me and my own habits to that story. Not, I never self-diagnose anymore. I do not. And I don't think that I have DID because I know that I don't. But that was just an example. I do that with mental disorders and physical, like, bodily disorders. Like, I saw this one thing that was becoming more popular and I had the symptom the next day. So I was scared, to say the least. Anyways, I got started on self-diagnosing. Anyways, I can make an entire video on mental health, and I might. So I don't want to cover too much more, but I have one more thing to say. Yeah, you guessed it. If you or anybody that you know struggles with mental health, you or them should contact 988 or find healthy ways to cope that is best for you and the person struggling. Literally, losing someone to suicide is horrible. It's never happened to me. No, it has not. But it could at any time because I know people that struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts. It is never the answer. I could go on and on about most of these topics except for the habits topic. I cannot talk about that anymore. It's so boring. And I won't bore you with talking about anymore because there's so much that I could say, especially about mental health and a little bit about studying. So, have a good day or night and enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye!